Y'all ready? It's time to talk ball with Spunky Spectrum. Let's ride! Ow. Woke up in the morning, coffee in my hand, another season about to start. I'm the fantasy man, scouting sleepers, crunching numbers late at night, building rosters that gon' shine under them lights. From rookie watch to big revenge, I see it all, stacking points while the league's watching me ball. Best ball drafting, no waivers, just pure skill. I'm taking shots, watch the whole league getting killed. Yeah, the grind don't stop, the picks stay high. When the money's on the line, I connect the dots. We're talking fantasy football, best ball drafting deep. Spunky Spectrum spinning, put a league to sleep. 15 grand on DraftKings, cashed it like a king. Now the whole damn country know I run this thing. Yeehaw, raise them up, another W in the books. Fantasy king, got the trophies and the looks. From the podcast mic to the big check in my hand, this is Spunky Spectrum boys, the fantasy man. Best ball season.
Yo, Big D back with another top 10 list. This time, top 10 players who never won a Super Bowl. Driving the top production, Spunky Spectrum Sports, Kyle Senra. Senra says is back. And I think we've done, 3 or 4 of these top 10 lists the last few years. So, about time we do another one.
The annual August tradition. I love joining you here on the Spunky Spectrum Sports Network. And yeah, love talking with you, Dylan. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I think it's great. We've done,
We did coaches. I remember that. I think that might have been 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think we did coaches all time and some other lists, but
I think we might have did coaches all time, and then 1 year did current coaches. I think that might have been it.
Maybe.
And yeah, this time we've gone with the players list. So take my coaching cap off. Not that I'm a coach, but I'm also not an NFL player. So just love talking about the NFL.
Yeah, and all these guys were great.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think most of these guys are either Hall of Famers or will be Hall of Famers, but fortunately, never got the piece of jewelry football players want.
Yeah, some of them yet. I know you and I both had some current players playing, so it also is a yet question. Like we're stamping this on August 2026, so maybe all of the players that Dylan and I included that are current players could have the potential of being in the Super Bowl this year. So, but yeah,
You're thinking that 1 or 2 of our players might be celebrating Valentine's Day with a Lombardi?
I don't think we have any players from the same team, but I could definitely see them squaring off against each other in the Super Bowl, for instance. Your defensive players matchup versus one of the quarterbacks I have on my list. I'm sure those matchups are certainly plausible. I haven't fully made my prediction yet for the Super Bowl, but I'm kind of confident about my AFC team. So maybe one of the guys I list today won't be on this list next year. But this was a very difficult list because there are so many good players. Like this was, we could have gone 15 and 20 deep, probably. Certainly 15, I would have felt real comfortable having a bunch of different names. 20 probably could have as well. So, but yeah, it was definitely tough to exclude a lot of players from only a top 10 list.
Yeah, and of course, nailing just 10 guys can be a challenge in itself. So we have a just miss category. So Kyle, who would be your 11th guy?
So this was a player who I know you gave us 2 rules for this for this draft.
Yes, the rules.
Super Bowl era.
The rules for this list were 1, these players are from the Super Bowl era, so there won't be any Norman Van Brocklin or guys.
I was thinking Deacon Jones. I was actually thinking Deacon Jones. He essentially played half his career in the Super Bowl era, half before the Super Bowl. I felt half wasn't enough, so I didn't have him at all. He probably would have made my list, but because it was Super Bowl era, it's okay. Only half his career, that didn't feel enough. There's another player on my list that essentially played, I think, 1 season in the pre-Super Bowl era, but most of his career. But yeah, I did try to stick on players who, yeah, like I said, the majority. You left it, the majority is, a little. I mean, it has to be more than half. So again, the one guy that had half, I thought, hey, that's not a majority technically. I won't.
No Don Hudson on this list, and I tried.
Yeah, Don Hudson on this list would have felt silly. He won 3 championships. He was like celebrated as the best player ever, and they won because of him. I wouldn't have thought of including him on this list, to be honest. Makes sense.
I tried limiting to only 2 players per franchise. Otherwise, we'd have Bears, Vikings, and Chargers on the list.
I will say the Vikings surprise. I mean, they've never won a Super Bowl, right? So every player in their franchise history is open to be on this list. As a Packers fan, we kind of love rubbing that in their face. But yeah, so the Vikings was the one team. Well, there's a few teams I had to be careful with, but the Vikings, that was a team which, to be fair, is also maybe a transition to talk about the guy that just missed. For me, he, I believe, played the entirety of his career with the Vikings. So definitely someone who was part of the Vikings 1969 NFL championship, but they lost, I believe that was Super Bowl 4 to the Kansas City Chiefs. So I felt it was weird to put him on the list because he won a championship in the Super Bowl era. He won an NFL championship in the Super Bowl era, but he didn't win the Super Bowl, so he does count for the list. But I also didn't want to put him on the list because of it, so I felt Alan Page was the perfect honorable mention as either just missed or technically eligible, but I didn't want to put him on the list because, again, he is a champion. One of the few defensive players to win an MVP, actually. So, incredibly great player. Made the 70s All-Decade team. The MVP season, he was also Defensive Player of the Year. 8 All-Pro seasons in his career. This was an interesting record. 5 safeties in a season. It's an NFL record he shares with a few players, but to get 5 safeties, I mean, how many players do we even see get multiple safeties in the season? So that's pretty incredible. And I will say, Dylan, the first thing I did was I went to the NFL 100 list, or even consider like even current players. That was kind of my first thought of, okay, who are truly like the all-time great players in the last 100 years of their history, and then obviously excluded the pre-Super Bowl players and excluded the players who won a Super Bowl. And I sort of made that kind of like the first draft of players I would consider and look at. And Alan Page is not only on that NFL 100 list, he was one of the unanimous players. There are a few. I'd say I didn't count them up, but just looking through the list, it seemed there was probably about a dozen players that were unanimous selections. So it wasn't like there were some really great players that weren't unanimous selections on the NFL 100 list, but Alan Page was one of them. So again, he's a weird guy to place on the list, so I just felt I would have the honor of mentioning him as my honorable mention. And again, it's tricky with the Vikings because I do have 2 players on my list that played for the Vikings. So someone would have to fall off the list, and he felt like the one that made the most sense. Again, as much as I hate to admit it, the Vikings do have an NFL championship, 1969, but again, losing that Super Bowl.
Well, that's what happens when Joe Kopp was starting against Hagstrom in New Orleans.
Well, that page was written before the game started, right?
65 toss foul trap.
Purple People Eaters got their first taste of Super Bowl disappointment.
Yeah.
A lot of that to come in the 70s, fortunately for them.
Yeah.
And Alan Page.
Yeah, losing to the Dolphins, Steelers, and Raiders, right?
I believe so, yes. Yeah. And I mean, again, you have the best team in the 70s. Not the perfect season Dolphins, but the next season, and some argue they were almost even a better team that year. The Raiders is probably the one that they like. Oh, that's the one team where they hadn't quite established themselves. We could have taken that away from them, their Super Bowl, but instead it's theirs, not ours. But like those Dolphins and Steelers teams, as good as the Vikings defense was, it was tough to think that their defense wasn't as good as the Steelers, for instance. Let's say so. Like they got out defensed.
Well, my honorable mention set the NFL single-season record with 31 total touchdowns for the Chargers in 2006. Really one of the most versatile backs. He even threw touchdowns on occasion for his team. LT, not the pass rusher LT, LaDainian Tomlinson was my honorable mention, which feels weird that LT is the honorable mention, right?
Well, it's funny because my number 10 is a running back, and it's not Tomlinson. So I'm wondering, did I already mess up the list there with my number 10? Do you want me to get right to it?
Wait. You said Vikings. Are you referring to? Let me take a wild guess.
No,
MVP Adrian
no,
Peterson.
I did not put Adrian Peterson on the list.
Okay.
Further back for a running back. Like Adrian Peterson, he is a 2,000-yard rusher. He is one of the players with a 2,000-yard rushing season.
So who's number 10 on your list?
My number 10 is Eric Dickerson.
Oh, Houston Oilers.
Yeah, Rams, Colts, Falcons as well, Raiders. I have to be careful. The LA Raiders, but I still count. I made sure there was only 2 Raiders players total on the list. But great running back. He was the 80s All Decade running back, or he made the All Decade list in the 80s. 5-time All Pro, and Dickerson, the all-time leading rush. So it's what's more important, yards or touchdowns, right? And maybe you had the right answer with Tomlinson, and maybe that's why I should have put 10. But I have the player with the single season yards record in Eric Dickerson, 2,100 rushing yards. It was one of 4 seasons he led the league in rushing. He also had I think a separate season where he led the league in touchdowns. It wasn't his record-breaking season. His accomplishments, that seems strong enough to put him at 10. I excluded one player. I'm still really shocked that I excluded him. Maybe I shouldn't have. I don't know. There might have been a team reason for that, but yeah, I'll stick with it. I'm going Eric Dickerson at number 10. Yeah, maybe you're right with Tomlinson being there, but pick specs back.
Well, number 10, and this guy hopes he can cross his name off the list because Myles Garrett is my number 10 guy. In just, 9 seasons, 125 sacks. Let's see, in 2025, all Myles Garrett did was break the single season sack record. I'm telling you, I don't know if I've seen every defensive lineman, but I think there were 3 guys who just scared the living bejeebers out of me. LT1, Reggie White 2, Myles Garrett 3. Watch what Myles Garrett did in Cleveland when his team was trailing. Now watch what he's going to do with the Rams having a lead in the 4th quarter. Look out, NFC West.
7 All-Pro seasons out of his 9 years in the NFL. And I think one of those seasons he didn't get an All-Pro was that the year he got suspended for a few games for the Mason Rudolph incident. So in terms of full seasons, he's only not been an All-Pro 1 time. And I'm gonna guess it was his rookie season because rookies don't make the All-Pro. Yeah, he didn't make he wasn't an All-Pro in 2017. He probably would have deserved it too, but just voters don't usually vote rookies on the All-Pro even if they have amazing seasons. You've got to be so outstanding because he didn't win Defensive Rookie of the Year, funny enough. Curious to see who in 2017 won Defensive Rookie of the Year. But yeah, Myles Garrett's certainly worthy. I know my current players were quarterbacks, so I definitely did focus my list a lot on the quarterback position. 40% of my list are quarterbacks. So it's when I was going for current players, I did think quarterback before Garrett. But if you're going to take any non-quarterback, it probably has to be Myles Garrett. Currently the best defensive player in the league, I think. And you could argue he's been the best defensive player in the league, maybe since he's been in the NFL. Certainly between him and Aaron Donald, probably. At least for a lot of that stretch. Who knows? Maybe that won't matter anymore if they're on the same team. Ugh.
And then number 9, you already mentioned, but Alan Page is my number 9. One of the most feared defensive tackles in league history. 148 sacks. 5-time All-Pro, MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, huge part of the Purple People Eaters, getting the 4 Super Bowls, unfortunately losing all 4 of those Super Bowls, but just a formidable defensive lineman. And facing the Vikings in December and January, and the weather was nippy at Old Metropolitan Stadium, not fun.
And you got to think there was probably a stretch, especially when he won the MVP, where he was probably viewed as the best defensive player in the league. Maybe right before Joe Green and the Steelers really took over, and it was at the end of the 70s, it's probably considered to be Joe Green. But I'm sure there was a portion in the early 70s, his MVP came in 1971, and that at that point we hadn't even seen the 72 Dolphins yet. So like the 70s were kind of just beginning to take shape. I'm wondering if like a couple of those years in 69 through 71 where people might have considered Alan Page the best defensive player in the NFL. Kind of like we consider Garrett now or Aaron Donald, maybe more specifically for the exactitude of the position. But it based on the accomplishments, it looks like he had that type of impact.
Okay, so who is number 9 on your list?
So it's funny. I guess I get to go back to back here at 9-8, which is fitting because I have 2 current quarterbacks. I went with Josh Allen at 9. The 1 MVP season versus the other guys 2. Only 2 All-Pro seasons versus the other guys 3. So a little bit more accomplishments for the next guy I'll speak of. And it's funny because it's 2 real different. Like they're good throwing quarterbacks. You could almost argue maybe Josh Allen certainly gets more attempts per year and is better. But they're great running quarterbacks, but it's 2 completely different styles of running. Like Josh Allen already has the touchdown record for quarterbacks, both in a career and a single season record. He has that tied with Jalen Hurts. So we thought Cam Newton was going to be the greatest dual threat, at least rushing touchdown quarterback we've seen, but Allen's already gone further, and he hasn't missed a game yet in his career, so he hasn't had any durability issues that certainly plagued Newton in his career. We'll see how long he can keep that up. He also has some other interesting records. The rushing yard in a postseason game, or a single postseason, sorry, like not one game. That's Kaepernick. Oh boy, how can I forget that? But the postseason as a whole.
Kaepernick have like 900 rushing yards against the Packers and like.
Yeah, it feels like that. It's the exact number I believe is 171, which is that's the most ever by a quarterback in a postseason game. But Josh Allen has the most rushing yards for a quarterback ever in a postseason run, the entirety of the postseason. He also has the passer rating record for a postseason. I believe that's the year they lost with 13 seconds left to the Chiefs, and like he only played 2 games, but I believe he had close to a perfect passer rating in both those games. So yeah, he's been remarkable. I think right now probably would be considered the best quarterback in the NFL as we speak right now. That's another list we've done in years past, is current quarterback rankings too. I think the last time we did it, we both agreed Josh Allen was the number 1 quarterback. So I don't think there's any changing of that right now. But I am looking at overall career, and that's why I have Lamar Jackson at 8. Again, the extra MVP, 1 extra All-Pro season. He's led the league in passing touchdowns, which is not something you'd expect from Lamar considering the passing volume, but his career touchdown rate is incredible. I believe it's the highest among any active quarterbacks, even slightly above Mahomes and Brock Purdy, whose touchdown rate is just ridiculous. He's got the passer rating record for a regular season. Josh Allen has it for a postseason. The rush yards record in a season. I believe he has the career quarterback rush yard record already. So Lamar, like you could argue they're the 2 greatest dual threat quarterbacks, but in different ways. Lamar is accumulating the rush yards, running a lot between the 20s to set up what he does well, which is actually passing the ball in the red zone. Whereas Josh Allen's throwing a lot between the 20s to run more in the red zone. So they approach the game in 2 different ways, but they've had so much success at it. It would, to me, I'd have to have neither on the list like you did, or both like I did. Like it'd feel weird to have one of them on the list and one of them off. So I ultimately chose to have both. Again, for a Bills perspective, I am sacrificing a certain Bills player that I really had to choose between, and I'm curious if you have that same Bills player I'm thinking of on the list. But yeah, Lamar Jackson's my number 8, Josh Allen my number 9.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be fascinating because you imagine Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson both never win a Super Bowl throwing Joe Burrow. That doesn't seem right.
Seems weird. Right now, my early prediction is Bills-Ravens AFC Championship game. So I do think one of them will get a shot. We'll see if they can get it done in the big game. But maybe I'm wrong. It wouldn't be the first year. I predicted the Ravens to win the Super Bowl last year, and they fired their head coach by missing the playoffs. So I was completely off. Do you think now, just between those 2, I know you didn't have either on your list, but would you rank Lamar ahead of Josh Allen like I did, or the fact we've talked about you think Josh Allen's the best quarterback in the league right now, that he would be ahead of Lamar?
I actually would have Allen in front of Lamar only because of the playoff success.
That's fair. I mean, I suppose individual success, you're right. Allen has played better in the playoffs, but the team success, I mean, they both reached the AFC Championship game, so neither there has tasted the true team success, which is why they're on the list. So that's why they're here. To the list.
Number 8. Well, I have a quarterback on the list. A really good quarterback. Hall of Fame quarterback with the San Diego Chargers. A guy who set the NFL single season passing record 1980 and 1981. 1980, Dan Fouts threw 4,715 yards. The next year, Dan Fouts broke his own record, 4,802 yards. In an era where very few teams threw it out, Eric Coryell sure threw it out. I mean, 43,000 yards, 254 touchdowns. Unfortunately, Eric Coryell met a defense that was, yeah. And the one time the Chargers got to an AFC Championship game, they played the Bengals in the Freezer Bowl, and we know what happened.
And I mean, I know they went to the Super Bowl in 1994. I don't think he was he still playing at that point?
Fouts was long retired. Stan Humphries was the Charger quarterback.
But yeah, long time Chargers quarterback means he's not going to win a Super Bowl. So yeah, sorry. I did strongly consider Fouts. So interesting. That's at least, you said you had 3, so that's at least one. Potentially, there's another quarterback that's different. I think we each have 2 quarterbacks left. We'll see if they're the same 2 quarterbacks. So that'll be interesting to find
out. Number 7 on my list. You know what? All Bruce Smith did in the NFL was set the career sack record with 200 sacks. And by the way, what team did Bruce Smith set the all-time sack record with?
Well, I looked up Bruce Smith, and I noticed he didn't just play for the Buffalo Bills. I was a little surprised to find out he ended his career with Washington. So I imagine he set the sack record in his final season, so it's probably with Washington.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right that Bruce Smith finished his career with the Washington Redskins.
He also, I think, set another record with Washington that year, too. And I can maybe talk about that later when I talk about it, or I can share it now. Yeah, it's some intrigue. Ooh. Suspense. Or I can just tell you now. It doesn't matter.
I mean, go ahead if you want.
He has the most seasons with a sack. 19 seasons with at least 1 sack.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Helps you get to, I believe he's the only player to hit 200 sacks, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Maybe the guy you have a couple spots lower on your list will eventually chase that, catch that. That's a toughie to get, though. I mean, J.J. Watt tried and couldn't. We'll see if TJ can. We'll see if Garrett can. We'll see if anyone can catch Bruce Smith's record.
Okay.
That was your number 7. Right?
Yes. So who's your number 7?
It's funny. When you said the list, I thought of one name instantly, but then like the second name that instinctively came to me was Randy Moss. And throughout the list, like I kind of ranked him in a lot of different spots. Ultimately, I decided he had to be on the list, and so I put him here at 7. This is one of my Vikings players, so one of the reasons I couldn't put Alan Page. Oakland Raiders, New England Patriots. I forgot about this one, Dylan. Tennessee Titans. That was the 3-team season where he went from the Patriots to the Vikings to the Titans to end it. Once I saw it, I remember that. Yeah, what a horrible season, really, and then ending with the San Francisco 49ers.
Did Randy Moss play in that Super Bowl for the Niners against?
And yes, I believe he did. Again, the Harbaugh. He played in that game. So unfortunately, lost a couple Super Bowls, lost another NFC Championship game as well. All-decade receiver for the year 2000s, 4 All-Pro seasons, 5 times led the NFL in receiving touchdowns. So he was your ultimate scorer in 5 different seasons. What else do I have? He has of course, everyone knows ultimate scorer, 23 touchdowns, the record season with Tom Brady when Tom was the first to accomplish 50 passing touchdowns. Almost half of those were to Randy Moss, again with 23. So just this ultimate receiver, you could truly say one of the all-time greats. If you're, I think the top 2 are pretty cemented as Jerry Rice and Don Hudson. You could make a strong case Randy Moss is the 3rd greatest all-time wide receiver.
I would say Randy Moss is probably the most freakish wide receiver I can remember.
what little film exists of Don Hudson, like that's Moss is the only guy that's reminded me of what I've seen in Hudson, where he's just like this angle beater. Like, oh, he catches the pass. Oh, the defender's going to catch him. Oh no, he burns by him and still scores a touchdown somehow. Let's see. Oh, this seems like an obvious tackle, and he's not going to make it, but he's just so fast that he just destroys angles. And I mean, I don't know that he didn't have Xavier Worthy speed where he broke the 40, but plate speed, game speed, the ability to find the end zone. Yeah, Randy Moss is incredible. So he was one when he was so tough to place. Like, is 7 too high? Is 7 too low? I'm not sure. This is where I ended up with him. So I think this is about right, but definitely could have made the argument that maybe it's too high, but also maybe it's too low. I don't know. What do you think when I say Randy Moss at 7, Dylan? I guess you haven't mentioned him yet, so you probably don't think that's, unless he's not on your list, you don't think that's too low.
No, Randy Moss actually quite a bit higher on my list.
Okay, so you're thinking it is too low. So yeah, he was one where I was pretty comfortable with my top 6, and then he was in this next tier where, again, I think I could Moss, Jackson, Allen, Dickerson, I could replace with 4 different names, and I would still feel good about my list. But maybe not Moss. It just felt like Moss had to be on the list. So I included him here as the priority of this kind of tier, I would say.
Okay, and number 6 now.
Now, again, I don't know if I'm cheating by doing this, but like, he's an NFL player, but I am going to consider his entire professional football career when ranking Warren Moon at number 6. Because he's a 5-time champion in the CFL. I believe it was a 2 or 3-time most outstanding player. Led the league in, I think it was passing touchdowns 3 times and passing yards twice. And it's funny because, you know, with this Elks team, they were kind of playing a 2 QB system. So like most of those early seasons, he didn't get like a full season's worth of stats. So if you look at Warren Moon's CFL stats, they don't look that impressive. But you look at the Grey Cup stats, he got most pass attempts in those 5 Grey Cups. Like, it was obvious he was their starter, but they also felt they had 2 competent quarterbacks that through a regular season they could play either and be fine. But when it came down to it was all on the line in the Grey Cups, most of those 5 Grey Cups, Warren Moon was the lead. So outstanding CFL career. He probably shouldn't have even had it. Whereas as a CFL fan, we're so lucky to have had Warren Moon because we're not racist in Canada and said, okay, you can play quarterback and it's amazing and you go and win 5. Because the only reason he wasn't in the NFL is because no team would make him a quarterback because they didn't think a black person could play quarterback.
That's ridiculous that Warren Moon was not a quarterback. Anybody could have just seen the Rose Bowl for Washington. Warren Moon was better than most quarterbacks.
You know, he played 6 seasons in the NFL, won 5 championships, and arguably his best season was actually the year they didn't win the Grey Cup in 1983, his last year. That was his most outstanding player season, and at that point, I believe Doug Williams had been drafted by the Bucs, so that barrier was broken. And after seeing all the success he had at the CFL, he joined the Houston, I almost said Astros, the Houston Oilers. Another team. I don't say that team often enough. Which technically that would mean that's the Tennessee Titans franchise. So I had to be careful not to include another player from that. And that actually, there's a player called Ken Houston. He's a defensive back. He's got he had 12 all-pro seasons as a safety, played the majority of his career with Houston in the 70s, but I couldn't include him on the list because I went with Warren Moon and Randy Moss. That one made me sad because I thought he had such an impressive resume, enough to mention him, but I think Warren Moon inarguably I would say he's a top 15 all-time quarterback. And again, when I say that, I am counting both careers, so I do view him as a 5-time champion, as an MVP. I think he won an NFL MVP as well. Or sorry, he didn't win an MVP in the NFL. He won outstanding offensive player. He also won the Man of the Year award. He had an All-Pro season. A couple of seasons, Warren Moon led the NFL in passing yards as well as a year leading in passing touchdowns. And of course, he was playing an era with Joe Montana, Dan Marino, John Elway. Like, yeah, makes sense why he only had 1 All-Pro season, but he's such a good quarterback that the traits, the tape, the championships, at least CFL championships, which I value probably higher than most people do when it comes to talking NFL. But all that together, I thought Warren Moon was a lock for this list. And I thought I guess I put him at the bottom end of this tier of 6 players that I thought I had to put these 6 players on the list. So I'm curious if Warren's on your list.
You just have to wait. You just have to wait
Keep watching, folks.
and well, my number 6, rest in peace. But I think we both agree that Junior Seau was one of the most intimidating linebackers of his NFL career. Hall of Famer. I think he was the what is it? 8 All Pro. 1, 2, 3, 6 times. For some reason, never won Defensive Player of the Year, which seems crazy to me. Part of the Charger team that went to the Super Bowl 29 and the Patriot 18-1 team in 2007. 1,500 tackles, of course, and fortunately taken from us way too early. We know about the CTE issues, but Junior Seau was one of the most field linebackers in any era.
I did not put him on my list, and he was the guy where I felt, could I put Dickerson or Seau at number 10? I probably should have put Junior Seau even maybe ahead of Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. He was the guy that I was surprised I didn't include him on the list personally. So maybe that's the one where when I ultimately went with Dickerson, I thought, am I making a mistake with that one? And I kept it, but maybe that was the mistake. But yeah, the great player. Probably should have been on the list. I think if we were going to 15, he definitely would have made it. I think he's my number 11.
Okay, number 5. So now we get to the big boys. Now we get to the big club. Well, you mentioned CFL. How about my guy started his career in the USFL with the Houston Gamblers in 1983. Then ultimately played his whole NFL career with the Buffalo Bills. Got the 4 straight Super Bowls. Unfortunately, went 0-4. But Jim Kelly, Hall of Famer. Actually, looking at his numbers, I thought Jim Kelly would have thrown for more yards, but he always seemingly dinged from time to time. I think it was an All-Pro once.
Same thing as Warren Moon. He played in an era with too many of those other guys, and I went with Josh Allen over Jim Kelly. That also might have been a mistake, but yeah, I don't know.
I mean, if Josh Allen would have been in a Super Bowl too, he's probably in front of Kelly.
Fair enough.
That was my
The ability to, even if you haven't won one, the ability to get one weighs more than, because I guess my reasoning was we view Josh Allen as the best quarterback right now. I'm not sure Jim Kelly was ever considered to be the best quarterback at any point. And again, fairly or unfairly, and he's playing with Joe Montana through Dan Marino, and then the Steve Young to Aikman and Favre transition. Like there was no point where he ever got to stand up as the best quarterback. Whereas we view Allen that way, and I guess that's ultimately why I decided for my second Buffalo Bill to be Allen and not Jim Kelly. But I suppose it felt like you had to put one of them, right? And it's you also mentioned another Buffalo Bill, and I felt you absolutely had to put that guy. So it came down to you weren't going to include both Buffalo quarterbacks, so a choice had to be made.
Okay.
I expected what I was mentioning earlier, we'll see which of the quarterbacks were different on it. I guess we combined for 7 quarterbacks on our 2 lists, but only one of them is the same. Like I had 3 different guys, you had 2 different guys. So it just goes to show that that especially those quarterback rankings still become an interesting discussion.
Okay, so who's number 5 on your list?
So another unanimous NFL 100 player. So again, the special. I saw it with Paige. I mentioned Deacon Jones. I think there were 4 or 5 unanimous NFL 100 players that hadn't won Super Bowls that again were played in the Super Bowl era. Butkus played 1 year in the pre-Super Bowl era. His rookie season was 1965. Talk about a near miss with Dick Butkus, because I was surprised he was even eligible for this list. Dick Butkus didn't win a championship. The Bears' last pre-Super Bowl championship was 1963, so he just missed it by 2 seasons, and he was not with the 85 Bears. That was after he had retired a decade before. So Dick Butkus, in spite of the legendary stature of him, he never won a championship.
Yeah, because I think Howell's last title was in 63.
Yep. Exactly,
the
2
Bears
years.
drafted, and then the Bears drafted Dick Butkus and Gale Sayers in the same 65 draft. Not bad.
Sayers was originally on my I'd say my short list of people I was considering. Ultimately, there were again running backs like Tomlinson and Dickerson that finished ahead of him. I didn't strongly consider Sayers. I might have also had a second Bears player, so I don't think I would have been able to. Maybe I didn't. I was considering a Bears player. I guess I didn't ultimately go with them, but this was interesting. He played 4 seasons in the 70s, yet is on the 70s all-decade list at linebacker. So those must have been 4 insane seasons to have that happen, especially in the 70s in an era with so many good linebackers. So one of the rare 2 all-decade team players. There's a few of those exist in the NFL, players that made 2 all-decade lists, and Butkus was certainly one of them. Again, unanimous NFL 100 list, twice won Defensive Player of the Year, an 8-time All-Pro. 8-time All-Pro, and I think he only played 9 seasons. So essentially an All-Pro his entire career. He was someone who was locked in for me as pretty easily a top 5 guy on this list. So I was, again, I don't want to celebrate the division rivals, but I felt like I had to with Dick Butkus. It's funny. Most of the Bears greats have all won championships. They have so many championships. But he's got to be the greatest Bears player to not win a championship, I feel.
I don't know. I'm not being Dick Butkus in the middle of a ring at night.
Heck no. So yeah, I thought it was a top 5 lock. Do you have Dick Butkus on the list? Are you going to tell him no to this list and be scared? No. He probably hates me for only having him 5. He'll come after me too.
I'm not scared of facing Dick Butkus, but we'll see if he's on my list.
Did you want me to go with number 4?
Who is number 4 on your list? Now I have a feeling there'd be more agreement on this list because to me, I think there was a clear top 3 or 4, and I have a feeling of who's going to start your top 4.
Yeah, we might have a player ranked at the same finally. I have Anthony Munoz at number 4. Offensive tackle. I was left tackle for a long time for the Cincinnati Bengals. Another NFL 100 unanimous selection. All-decade player in the 80s. He won Man of the Year. 11 All-Pro seasons. Just, it seemed like he's Joe Thomas, but with a team that actually went to Super Bowls, where he was just like, you put him at left tackle his whole career, and just like he was like the best player at left tackle the entire time he played. Truly one of the greatest offensive linemen ever. Some might even consider him the greatest offensive lineman. Look at his resume. You'd be hard pressed to find a better one. Truly, Unfortunately, the 2 times he went to the Super Bowl, he played Joe Montana both times. It's just guys that it's got to be him. They're just so clutch. Him between Brady and Montana. That's 10 different teams that probably were deserving of being Super Bowl champs that didn't because they played. I'm pretty sure you have Munoz on your list, so I'm curious to see where you have him.
And if not for John Candy, Anthony Munoz might have a Super Bowl ring. Yes, Anthony Munoz is number 4 on my list. What is it? 11 Pro Bowls, 2 Super Bowls for the Bengals, and honestly, thinking of that 81 Bengal team, thinking of the Freezer Bowl, the whole Bengal offensive line wore short sleeves in that game to intimidate the Chargers.
I mean, how hard is it to intimidate the Chargers? But they probably did it. No, incredible team. I mean, he was an intimidating player, it seems like. Everyone that's kind of spoken about him, like all of his contemporary defensive players, like they often consider him like, man, this was the offensive lineman that we had to be like extra creative, get all the moves, because like you weren't just gonna beat him conventionally. Like he was gonna. How many seasons did he play? He played, looks like 13 seasons with the Bengals. So he was an All-Pro in 11 of his 13 years in Cincinnati. Crazy. Such a good player. Yeah, I'm glad we agree on him. Clearly, I thought easily a top 5 lock. These were to me the obvious players that belonged at the top of the list. He certainly kicked that off.
Number 3 on my list. Well, you know what? The Dallas Cowboys to this day still regret not taking this guy in 1998 because on Thanksgiving that year, Randy Moss scored three crazy long touchdowns that the whole country saw.
Yeah, the legend of Randy Moss was born then, and the Cowboys still haven't won a championship since. I mean, to be fair, neither have the Vikings. Neither have been to a Super Bowl. It's was that the ingredient that could have brought the Cowboys another championship? We'll never know.
Yeah, you imagine Michael Irvin and Randy Moss together.
Yeah, I suppose 7 was probably too low for Moss, but I mean, I don't know. I'm comfortable putting him at 7 on my list just because I had a feeling you weren't going to include Warren Moon, but I was because of the CFL stuff. So that's maybe cheating, but yeah. But yeah.
I mean, I included Jim Kelly with the USFL, but
Fair enough. I imagine most of his resume though, like, I mean, how many seasons did he play in the USFL? I don't think he played 6 years and won 5 championships. Like, to me, Warren Moon's CFL career is a bigger part of his resume, whereas Jim Kelly did so much for the Bills that the USFL stuff probably doesn't enter into it too much. Like, it's like Joe Theismann. I'm probably not considering much of his CFL stuff because he won a Super Bowl and he was incredible with Washington when he played. Like, does the Argo stuff really enter into it? Probably not as much as the Edmonton stuff does for. Yeah, I had a feeling I was going to be too low on Randy Moss. It makes sense. It's like just the ultimate talent, and this is maybe not even resume, just like the eye test. Probably deserves to be a top 3 player. So.
okay. So who's number 3 on your list?
The same thing, eye test. But watching this guy play, this is purely electric. And I know you're definitely going to agree with him as a top 5 pick. In fact, I think you're about to talk about him next. This is really well placed list for this. Detroit Lions running back, Barry Sanders. It's funny how many division opponents I'm putting. I didn't put a single Packers player. Packers have the most championships. So.
Well, the Packers went 30 years between Super Bowl appearances. I'm like,
but all their best, like most of that team wasn't good. Like you had who's a Bills player eventually, the receiver, James Lofton. He was probably the best Packers player ever, like easily in that in between era of like between when Lombardi left and when they drafted or when they traded for Favre, like that lost era of Packers. There's probably no better Packers player at that time than James Lofton. But like when you're thinking about the Packers players you choose for this list, all-time greats, all of them would have won championships. So like there aren't really any great Packers players. And again, you could put Lofton in this list, but there's already so many Bills players. So, but yeah, Barry Sanders, incredible.
You could put Tony Mandrich on the list.
Yeah, which is a great point to make, because the Packers could have drafted Barry Sanders that year instead of Tony Mandrich. Like I believe the Lions took him with the very next pick, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, third overall, and the Packers had the second overall pick with Mandrich.
The top 5 picks of the '89 draft were Troy Aikman, Tony Mandrich, Barry Sanders, Derek Thomas, and Deion Sanders.
And our current Packers GM still loves drafting off RAS score ever since. And it's still happening. Like, we haven't learned anything. Because I kind of was reading, like, documentaries on Mandrich. Apparently, like, he was doing steroids before the combine. So he really juiced his athletic numbers. So because he knew that would help him go super high in the draft and get the guaranteed money. But he wasn't a good football player. So he just drafted an athletic dude who wasn't good at football, which feels like all Gutekunst is doing right now. So, yay, Packers. Misery. But yeah, the Barry Sanders certainly caused the Packers misery. That was the Lions' last playoff win, and they were such a good team at that point. MVP season, he was the all-decade, I believe he was the first team all-decade player in the 90s for the running backs. 10 all-pro seasons. I think he only played 10 years. So this was a dude that immediately came into the league, was amazing, and was just amazing the entire time. 4 times he led the league in rushing, and 1 time he led the league in rushing touchdowns. Which is funny. He and Dickerson have those same thing. 4 years leading the league in rushing yards, 1 year leading the league in rushing touchdowns. But I think Barry Sanders is a better running back than Eric Dickerson. So, yeah, I've got him at 3. I believe you want to talk about Barry Sanders next?
I'll wait on Barry Sanders because I want to hear your number 2.
Okay. Let's add some drama. The number 2 is the player you've already mentioned. So it's funny. Where did you have Bruce Smith?
7.
Which is where I had Randy Moss. So that's hilarious. That was the guy I put on it lucky number 7. You thought was too low, and to me, I was debating at the number 1 spot with Bruce Smith, and the guy ultimately went with number 1. Bruce Smith, another one of those 2 all-decade teams. He played for so long. He was obviously an all-decade player in the 90s when they went to 4 straight Super Bowls. He was dominant in the 80s, so he was an all-decade defensive end in the 80s as well. 2 times Defensive Player of the Year, 11 All-Pro seasons. It's like Munoz, but even more remarkable, some would say. Twice led the league in forced fumbles. For all the sacks he committed, there's probably a lot of strip sacks in those forced fumbles, but it's not just about sacks. Then he'll create turnovers. He'll stop the run. He has 2 sack records. I think we already mentioned them: the career sack record and seasons with a sack. He had 19 seasons where he had a sack. So he probably had a sack every year of his career, which is kind of insane. So to me, and maybe it's also importance of position. As great of a player as Barry Sanders was, Bruce Smith as a defensive end was more important to his Bills teams for winning games than Barry Sanders was as a running back. So that also entered into it. I almost considered putting Munoz ahead of Sanders for that same reason. That felt like a step too far, but I was pretty comfortable having Bruce Smith as my number 2.
Yeah, Bruce Smith, number 1 pick in the 1985 draft from Virginia Tech. I hear there was another wide receiver taken from that draft. I don't know, from Mississippi Valley State, Jerry Rice. He was okay.
I think so. Maybe not. No Don Hudson, but
okay,
he did the best he could. He didn't invent the route tree. I mean, what could you do, right? If someone already invented it, you can't reinvent it, right? But yeah, Rice was pretty spectacular. Certainly not on this list because of all those championships. But all right, Dylan. So Bruce Smith's my number 2. Who do you have?
You think 1983 quarterbacks? I've already mentioned one in Jim Kelly. I'm going to mention Dan Marino right now because Dan Marino's number 2. Think great quarterbacks. Obviously, got to Super Bowl year 2, the year where he threw for 5,084 yards, 48 touchdowns, MVP of the league that year, 420 touchdowns, 61,000 yards. I mean, I think you would agree, probably one of the strongest arms in league history. I mean, woo!
Probably second only to Aaron Rodgers.
At least in Hail Marys.
When else do you need arm strength for Hail Marys? But yes, Marino's incredible. A top 10 all-time quarterback. Probably the only top 10 quarterback without a championship as well. So that also speaks to just how good he was. In spite of the lack of championship, we'll still put him as a top 10 guy. Because Brady, Otto Graham, Joe Montana, John Elway, Manning, Unitas, Rodgers, Staubach. Like you go down that top 10 list, it's Mahomes. It's all guys that have won championships except Marino. But he commands respect. He even won Man of the Year one year as well. There's a few guys on this list that have Man of the Year. 8-time All-Pro, which is insane at quarterback. It's tough. Like there's 2 quarterbacks that make All-Pro every year. Other positions you might get 3 or 4. It's tough to be an All-Pro quarterback. He did it 8 times, which is exactly why Jim Kelly and Warren Moon and everyone else we talk about didn't get All-Pros because Marino did it every year. Him in Montana, that's probably most of the 80s All-Pro guys. He did not make the 80s All-Decade team, which is interesting. Montana's got 1 spot. It's either Elway, it might be your guy, Dan Fouts, who has the other spot. I'll have to double check.
I
remember looking at that, and I was surprised Marino didn't make an all-decade team. And then he didn't make an all-decade team in the 90s. I imagine that's Favre and Aikman probably. Favre, Elway maybe. But yeah, no all-decade appearance for Marino, but didn't stop me from putting him at number 1. 5 times led the league in passing yards. 3 times led the league in passing touchdowns. And 1 year he had the best passer rating. As much as aggressive downfield stuff, also the ability to get a high completion percentage and certainly throw a lot of touchdowns helps. But when I thought of it, when you presented the list and you said, Kyle, do you want to do this topic? My first thought was, okay, well, Dan Marino, who else am I going to put on the list? And then I kind of went through, okay, is Marino really number 1? after I went through, I strongly considered putting Bruce Smith at 1, but ultimately decided to go with Marino as the number 1. Maybe again, it's the importance of the quarterback. I put 4 quarterbacks on my list, so did I overvalue the quarterback? Maybe, maybe not. Obviously, Dylan disagrees with the number 1. You want to reveal yours?
Yeah, honestly, number 1 on my list, Barry Sanders, and actually Barry Sanders my number 1 running back all time. I mean, third all-time rushing record. And the crazy thing is that when Barry Sanders retired, he was within range of Walter Payton's career rushing record. And it's not like Barry Sanders played behind a great offensive line. You imagine what Barry Sanders would have done with Emmitt Smith's old line in the 90s.
Yeah, who ultimately got that rushing record. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, what if his career was longer? What if the Lions were good? The Lions have been asking, what if we've been good since Jailhouse Rock was the number 1 single by Elvis Presley in 1957? So that's a good question.
What if the Lions hadn't traded Bobby Lane? But that's a story for another day.
Yeah, well, sorry, Barry Sanders didn't win a Super Bowl, but you won the number 1 spot on Dylan's list here, so congrats to you. Congrats to all these guys who, again, never won championships. Again, except Warren Moon, who won 5 CFL Grey Cups, so that's incredibly impressive. Good for you, Warren Moon. Should I not have included Warren Moon for that?
No, I don't think Warren Moon's bad. I don't think Warren Moon's bad. I said
Yeah.
Who never won a Super Bowl.
And he never won a Super Bowl. So I figured he was eligible. It's kind of like Alan Page, right? Like, do I put him because Alan Page won an NFL championship? I justified, okay, I'll exclude him from the list. But I really just wanted to put him on the list. So nothing could make me take him off the list.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm just thinking. If Matthew Stafford hadn't won the Super Bowl with the Rams, where would he be on this list?
See, I don't think I'm putting him ahead of Allen or Jackson, so I would say probably not on the list. I think the only reason I would consider him better than Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen is because he's won a Super Bowl. So if you're taking that away from him, I'm saying there's no way I'd put him over Jackson or Allen, personally.
True. And plus the MVP, well, Allen's got 1, Lamar's got 2, Stafford's got 1. But that's good.
Those guys didn't have Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams to help win them that MVP. And not to say that Stafford was undeserving of it, but team context is important on Stafford's MVP, whereas Allen and Jackson both feel like they elevate their teams beyond their situations.
Well, Matthew Stafford also played 12 years with a crappy Lion team.
Back to the Lions being bad, right? We can never escape that topic. And he got them to the playoffs. Like the Stafford Jim Caldwell era team was good, and that was even after they might have had Megatron for a year or so, but like the Golden Tate era of the team, like they had success. They kind of got screwed over in 2014 on a yeah, exactly. The penalty that should have been a penalty, they threw the flag and then inexplicably pick it up, and then the next play, okay, instead of being a first down, the Lions are punting, and he botched the punt completely. Like, that was such a horrible punt, out of bounds. Cowboys had the ball basically at midfield, like almost in field goal range. Extended their lead, and they never looked back. And I mean, they obviously ended the next game in a very humiliating, hilarious way, where Des Bryant didn't catch the ball, but. The 2014 playoffs are a complete disaster, right? The Cowboys messed that one up. Instead of running, it was a 4th and 1 play. They were at the 20-yard line. The Packers was like Swiss cheese run defense. They had not stopped DeMarco Murray all day. When I saw that, like on that 4th and 1, that Romo was dropping back, I was so thankful, because they would have easily got the 1 yard if they had handed it to DeMarco Murray. You keep that drive going instead of scoring with 4 minutes left. They could have probably taken like the clock down to under 2 minutes, then taken the lead and really put pressure on Rodgers.
And Green Bay was down the 1 timeout.
Now, what happened immediately after Des caught it? Rodgers instantly put the team basically, like, actually Eddie Lacy put the team in field goal range. A couple of big long runs, and they were almost in field goal range without even really trying when they were trying to run out the clock. So there's no doubt in my mind that even if they counted that as a touchdown, the Packers would have won that game. And you know why I know that, Dylan? Because 2 years later in 2016, when Dez Bryant catches a touchdown to take the lead with about 4 minutes left in the game against the Packers still end up winning the game anyway. So
Well,
I think that
Aaron Rodgers hit
Jared Cook.
Jared Cook with one of the throws of the year.
I'd say one of the two greatest throws he's ever made in his career. To me, it's that one, and then the Lions Hail Mary on Thursday night that really started kicking off that stretch of Hail Marys, because both those throws won the game for me in my mind. So I remember a few years ago when I used to be on the Full Press Packers pod, my co-host Jesse Hall and I, we both had we did an episode on that, like top 10 Aaron Rodgers throws. That might have been like his final season and one way to celebrate him. And I vividly remember having that Jared Cook throw was my number 2. I'm pretty sure Jesse had it really high as well in his top 3. So yeah, that's a key signature Aaron Rodgers moment that I had no reason to bring up now, but I just did anyway. So yeah.
And then the next week, Green Bay blew a 16-0 lead and forgot to catch.
Yeah. And then so really, should the Lions have won the Super Bowl that year? Because they probably shouldn't have lost to Dallas. Dallas shouldn't have lost to the Packers. The Packers shouldn't have lost to Seattle. Seattle shouldn't have lost to New England, right? Like, should that Super Bowl really have been Lions Patriots? I mean, if it's Lions Patriots, the Patriots are going to win, no doubt. Like, let's be honest. So
going to win by 40, but
yeah, so that was going to be Tom Brady's Super Bowl no matter what. To be honest, that doing what he did in the fourth quarter against Seattle, because they were down. I think they were down by 14, if I remember correctly. 10 and then he scored 14 points. That's what it is. Yes, to get the lead at the end. But to do that against the Seahawks defense, who were so close to, in back-to-back Super Bowls, beating Peyton Manning and Tom Brady and truly cementing themselves as maybe the greatest defense ever. And Tom Brady said nope, and created 2 touchdown drives in the fourth quarter against arguably the greatest defense of all time. So to me, that was the game where once that happened and luck had its way that the Seahawks didn't score with Marshawn Lynch at the end, the Malcolm Butler interception. But to me, that game was still when Tom Brady became the GOAT. It was his fourth Super Bowl. It tied Montana, but to do it against that defense of all defenses, I thought that was incredibly impressive. And then 2 years later, there was never a doubt after that once he came back against the Falcons. Again, man, I remember the Packers in that NFC Championship game. There's no blown lead. They could not stop Julio Jones. Ladarius Gunter Ladarius Gunter 1-on-1 against Julio Jones. That's a recipe for disaster.
I don't know about you. Julio won. And by the way, wasn't that what year wasn't that Billy Cunningham? No, wait, it was Super Bowl 46 when Billy Cunningham missed that field goal so far wide right and landed in the harbor.
With the Ravens, you're talking, right?
Yes.
That was earlier than that. I think that was, I want to say that was 2011. I think.
Yeah, that was Super Bowl 46, I think. That was the.
Well, okay, so sorry. I thought the kind of thing didn't happen in the Super Bowl. I'm thinking of when he was with the Ravens. Yeah, AFC Championship game to the Patriots. I think that was the year. That was the second time Eli beat Brady, I think. Because I think it was 2 weird endings. Because like the Ravens probably should have won that game in the NFC Championship game, and then
tie and go to overtime, and who knows?
Like they had a chance to win it, and then I believe in overtime in the other NFC Championship game, the 49ers kick returner fumbled, and the Giants recovered and instantly won the game on a field goal, and that's how they got to the Super Bowl, and they ultimately won it. Which is hilarious because the next year we ended up seeing that Ravens 49ers matchup. So destiny would have it that game was fated, that the Hard Bowl was meant to happen, but it almost happened the year before. We almost got back-to-back Hard Bowls, and it just kind of weird things like a missed field goal, a fumble on a kickoff in overtime, and that's how you get a Giants-Patriots Super Bowl, which I seriously doubt we get this year. Yeah. Sure. Giants? I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out.
I mean, before we go, I want to ask, why haven't Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen gotten to a Super Bowl? Because both of them certainly talented enough. Not true. They face in Pat Mahomes, facing Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, C.J. Stroud, Trevor, now Drake May. There's so many good quarterbacks in the AFC.
I think part of it is one guy. There's one guy, Mahomes, right? Brady did that too. Montana did that. Like Marino, Kelly, Warren Moon, all the quarterbacks we talked about on today's show of not winning Super Bowls, they all played in the same era as either Montana, Brady, or Mahomes. And that accounts for what? Like 13 Super Bowls in the last essentially 40 years are one of those three guys. So you almost have like a 1 in 4 chance if you have one of those quarterbacks, and everyone else, his chances are significantly reduced. I mean, how many times have Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson lost to Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs combined? Like 4 times, 5 times? All 5 of those seasons, they could have won the Super Bowl if they just beat Mahomes.
Yeah, amen to that. I mean, who knows? I mean, you think back to that Ravens game when they hosted the Chiefs, and I think you would agree with me. The Ravens were clearly better than Kansas City. Just Lamar had an off game.
The Isaiah Likely fumble, Lamar with that bad interception. It was the middle of the fourth quarter, so like you were down. I get why you're kind of forcing it, but it felt too early in the game to force that into double coverage. Or it was the Mark Andrews fumble and then the interception to Likely. I think that was he targeted Likely in double coverage and really shouldn't have, and that really sealed it. But yeah, you just like how many guys through their careers lost to Tom Brady in the playoffs, and like that was their one shot, their one run, and it ended because of Tom Brady. So Mahomes is kind of that effect, and we'll see how he recovers from his ACL tear, and the Chiefs can again become that team that stops all these teams from going to the Super Bowl. It's because of this Mahomes ACL tear. Is this the year where like Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen just you've hired your new coaches because you think these are the coaches that take you over the top? Does one of them have that secret recipe with the new coach bump for a whole season that just wins in the Super Bowl? I know my current projection is that the Bills win the Super Bowl this year. So I think I was not a big Sean McDermott fan, so I think maybe getting rid of him might be addition by subtraction. I think if they've hired a right defensive coordinator that will adjust well during games, that could be the thing. Because like their defensive adjustments in playoffs games have been horrible. Like they've lost a lot of those games because the defense has failed them. So
how have the Bills lost playoff games? I mean, Josh Allen wasn't going in Denver last year, but that defense, John McDermott's a defensive coach, and yet the Bills couldn't stop a nosebleed.
Yeah, no. So I'm curious with Brady Cook as the head coach, if that's to get rid of McDermott, and is that the ingredient that they need to make the push? And I think right now my early call is going to be Bills win the Super Bowl. And that next year, if we redo this list, Josh Allen's not going to be on it, but I could also be wrong. Like I said, last year I picked the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. That was a disaster.
Well, you know what? I think the NFL fans this year would love to see a Bills Lions Super Bowl because we would have a new Super Bowl champ.
Yeah, that was one I was considering. Even with the injuries they're dealing with, like Bills 49ers wouldn't shock me if that happens. If the 49ers, like even with all the injuries last year, they still made it to the playoffs. Yeah, they got railroaded in the playoffs by the Seahawks. We'll see if they're maybe more well prepared for that this time around. Mike Evans' addition with Brock Purdy could be something that also helps them get over the hump. I mean, that franchise has won a Super Bowl, but not since 1994. That was 32 years ago. So like that team's got a bit of a championship road. I'm sure they're looking at.
And you look at it. Kyle Shanahan, the Niners have been in 2 recently and lost to, the same guy. Somebody named Mahomes, right?
Doesn't matter who your quarterback is. Their quarterback's Mahomes, so you lost. And Garoppolo had a lead the first time, and the second one they lose in overtime, and so it's you're right there. He could have just as easily won both of those games, really. I wonder if Brock Purdy was the quarterback for the first one, if they would have won in 2019.
Oh yeah,
he wouldn't have missed Emmanuel Sanders on that. He would have made that throw.
So. Yeah. Brock Purdy would have found Manny Sanders, or Mahomes wouldn't have found Cheetah, on a big 3rd and 15, whatever it was.
Sure, of course. I mean, I just recently rewatched the Packers NFC Championship game lost in 2014 to the Seahawks, and just it's all the little things that you could have done differently. Like instead of settling for back-to-back field goals early in the game, can you just go for it on 4th and 1, one of those 2 times, and punch it in the end zone, and you win the game, right? Like their comeback is too far. If one of those field goals is a touchdown, that's just one extra possession for them.
Maybe if Green Bay hadn't gone for a field goal down 8 in 2020, maybe you all would have beaten Tom Brady.
You see, that one I just think back to what if David Bakhtiari hadn't tore his ACL right at the end of the season? Like, because again, it was 3rd and 8 or 4th and 8 or whatever. I think it was 3rd and 8, and Rodgers tried to run, and it would have set up like a 4th and 5. Like, are you telling me David Bakhtiari, who at the time was the reigning I think back-to-back first-team All-Pro left tackle, you could argue was the best offensive lineman in the NFL at that time. If he's in that game, he can account for 5 extra yards that they can get that touchdown. I'm convinced, and with such a poor showing by the Chiefs, that was the 2020 season, such a poor showing by their team in the Super Bowl, I think if David Bakhtiari doesn't get hurt, the Packers win the Super Bowl.
I mean, yeah, there's no excuse for Tom Brady winning a cold.
And again, they lost to Tom Brady, of course. Like it's
Hey, by the way, that's a pretty good conference championship Sunday. Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Josh
that's the only ever Rodgers Brady playoff game we ever got. It was an incredible game. Very stressful. Marquez Valdez-Scantling was incredible. That was the best game of his career. Let's give him a shout out. He actually caught the ball. He caught all 4 of his targets in that game. The fact that he only had 4 targets with how good he was playing is the true crime. But
didn't Scotty Miller have a
huge he had the ceiling 3rd down catch to basically ice the game right at the end. Yeah. Kevin King couldn't cover Scotty Miller. Thanks, Kevin.
All right, Kyle. Thanks for hopping on, and maybe maybe Tucker Kraft will stay healthy this year, and we'll talk in Green Bay.
And Parsons and everyone else, and Devontae Wyatt and everyone else they were really counting on to step up and be elite. So yeah, no, it's I was like last year I was convinced, especially after the Parsons trade and looking at the first 2 weeks that they were going to win the Super Bowl. I was convinced, and then yeah, they didn't even win a playoff game. So a little less optimistic about the Packers this season, I will say.